And today's session will be presented by Mr. Songezo from Northwest University. Mr. Songezo is a manager for research and open scholarship at Northwest University. He brings over 7 years of progressive experience in academic librarianship with specialized expertise in institutional repository management, digital scholarship, research data management, open access and open science advocacy, copyright, and scholarly communications. He's a dedicated service-oriented academic librarian and the author of the Xhosa novel, Intlupheko Ndiyazi Kum. In his role at Northwest University, Songezo provides strategic oversight of the university's institutional repositories, Buluga and Data Yarona, and leads the Digital Scholarship Center and the Research and Honors Commons. He is actively engaged in enhancing the Northwest University's digital research environment, supporting research data workflows, managing the open journal system, and promoting digital preservation practices and open access publishing. Prior to joining Northwest University, Songezo served as a scholarly communications librarian at Stellenbosch University, where he contributed to copyright advocacy, digital repository development, and researcher support initiatives. His previous positions at the University of the Western Cape and Cape Peninsula University of Technology have further developed his expertise in institutional repositories, copyright, library guides, and open educational resource management, user services, collection development, interlibrary loans, and library instruction and supervision. Songezo is dedicated to promoting equitable access to knowledge and fostering a research culture that supports open science and sustainable digital infrastructure. He also supports the digitization of special collections, metadata curation, and training initiatives for emerging researchers and postgraduate students. His educational background is he's currently pursuing a Master of Library and Information Sciences at the University of the Western Cape. He has a Bachelor of Library and Information Science from the University of the Western Cape. He also holds a Certificate of Information Technology from ADT Tech, Cape Town. He also holds a Certificate of Practices and Principles of Project Management from Stellenbosch University. His areas of expertise are institutional repository and metadata management, open access publishing and scholarly communication, research data management and FAIR principles, digital scholarship and preservation, digital humanities and special collections and digitization, copyright compliance and author rights, faculty training and research support services, knowledge management and library innovation, inclusive leadership and change management in libraries. Colleagues, let us give Mr. Mpikashe a round of applause. Mr. Mpikashe, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Greetings, colleagues. Greetings, Vante. Thank you so much. I'll just quickly share the screen, also the camera, just to connect the theory with the owner of that knowledge. This copyright thing, it gets to our head. So even when we're presenting, it just automatically comes to our head. Colleagues, allow me to share the screen. The topic of today, or the theme of today, will be on researcher visibility and impact. It's more of, I'll be telling the story of what we are doing at Northwest University in terms of profiling our researchers, as well as ensuring the research our research that is visible to the world. Okay, I'll just close the camera quickly, and then you just confirm if you can see my screen, or my screen is displayable. And then from there, we can
Yes, we can see. Thank you, Mr. Mpikashe. Yes, we can see your screen. You may continue. Thank you.
Wonderful. I'll just give a brief overview of why we're doing this. And also, I want to highlight that this presentation is the presentation that we're using, or that we are doing or we actually presenting within the organization or within NW. The presentation was created by the whole Department of Research and Visibility and Impact, so the Department of Research and Open Scholarship Services, which is, we call it ROS, within the library at Northwest University. I'm 100% sure that you can't wait to hear or to see the overview of the presentation of why we are actually calling you today to come and listen to this presentation. The overview will be the profiling researchers on key profiling platforms. So meaning that which platforms that we are advocating and also advising and encouraging our researchers to be familiar with as well as to register with. Also, there is a framework that we're using in trying to ensure that we increase the research visibility and impact of our researchers. So what we will be presenting today is the story within the NW, but it doesn't stop you to actually adopt or adapt anything that we're doing, and then you can imply or we can apply it in your own institutions. Moving on from the framework, we're going to be presenting research visibility and impact. And then the big question is, does it really matter? Why are we doing this whole, or why are we embarking on this journey of visibility as well as visualizing or making sure that the research is visual and it's got an impact? And then we want to also expand or stress the benefits of profiling our scholarly work or the scholarly work of NW. Without wasting any further time, this profiling researchers across profiling tools, it's a process of data collection from publicly available academic and social networking profile tools, profiling platforms. Then also, we want to ensure that the total number of researchers is assessed within the organization. Then we also stress the criteria, which includes a check visibility tool that we created for our researchers in the various research within the various researching profiles. Then, without wasting time, let's indulge and engage on the framework that we're using. This is the framework that we adopted, borrowed from Murray and other scholars, that was created in 2018. This framework is the one that leads us to the process of visibility and impact. But where does it start? So this framework, it helps us to sort of see the role of our role as librarians or the LIASA department within carrying of the research. What do we do, or how do we help our researchers from the initial stages of carrying the research and ensuring that we play a huge role? And then it goes to a part where we also play a role as LIASA, because we want to ensure that we stress the fact that we have the role in the research cycle. We might not necessarily be included in the research cycle, but we play a role. And then in terms of publishing, what role do we play as the LIASA, or what do we do, or how do we advise our researchers when they're publishing their research? And then it doesn't end there. It doesn't end from publishing the research. It also carries to a point where you need to create communications assets, or you need to widen the research that the research community that you're targeting your research to be heard or to be known at. Also, we want to ensure, or we are ensuring that in the part of disseminating of the research, or in the part of pushing and disseminating your research, we are actually playing a role where we are assisting in advising and also recommending to our researchers the platforms and spaces where they can be able to go and speak about their research, as well as to ensure that the visibility is there. Then all the stages, they lead to a part where now we are at the stage where we are evaluating this research and impact. So you want to ensure, or we want to ensure, that our researchers know the impact of their research, as well as they have the evidence of who is using their research, as well as who is the target market and who are they writing for. And then and then we go to a point where we are analyzing those metrics and we are analyzing the citations, who downloads this research. So mainly, this is the framework that we adopted and we're using when we're doing the profiling or research and visibility. And then moving on, with science communication and stakeholder engagement, we compile participants, or we advise and encourage our researchers to compile the participants' contact details when they are collecting the data. I know in terms of anonymous and when analyzing the data, and one will say that the data is going to be biased, or researcher is going to be biased in terms of analyzing the data when they've got the details of the researchers. We tend to differ in a way that we are not saying that that information or that data about the contact details shall be included in the analysis, but it shall be kept in the file so that when the researcher is done with the research, and then he can be able, or she can be able, to provide the feedback to those communities that they were involved in data collection. I mean, you don't want to collect the data and then you do your research, and then the people that you were included, or the communities that were involved in data collection or in that problem solving, then you are nowhere to be found as a researcher in terms of analyzing, also providing the feedback of the recommendations as well as your findings of the research. So we advise our researchers to ensure that they keep the communication, or with even the community partners, they keep the communication between the researchers as well as the community. So why we want that? We want, or we advise and ensure recommend that our researchers, they actively involve in community partners, which is in this case community engagement, stakeholder relations forums, as well as strengthen communication efforts and broaden the research of the reach of research findings. We want to ensure that we are shying away from just doing research and then it sits in the cupboards, and then it only help the global north. It doesn't help the actual communities that it was generated or it was done for. I mean, we cannot be in the situation of the olden days where we just want to make sure that our research it's only impacting the people, the certain group or the certain people. It should also solve the societal problems. I mean, I'll just make an example, a quick one. If let's say your research is you are dealing with why pond of people. I'm making an example. Please don't hold me in ransom with that example. This is just an example. Why pond of people don't really go to school. It's just an example. Please, colleagues, I don't want to be held a ransom of that. I'm actually from Pondoland, so I'm making an example for that. Why pond of people don't go to school? Then your findings are maybe the distances of schools or the distances of primary schools are far from people, or there are limited number of libraries within the community. Then there are limited number of schools within the community. Also, maybe your findings will be there are big rivers that people cannot cross. So those findings, they cannot only be used in the global north, they shall be used to equip and also to solve the problem of these people within the Pondoland, because you were doing the research within that community. So you want to communicate your findings in terms of the stats is saying it's high of people who are not managing to go to school. Why are we having those issues? Then once you reach back with those email addresses and phone numbers and social media, there are high chances that your recommendations will be implemented in terms of making sure that there are libraries that are built within the community. There are schools that are built within the community, bridges that are built within the community. So that's what we're saying when we're recommending to our researchers that they must always engage with the community's partners. Also, within the organization or within NW, we've got what we call an NW community engagement policy. So it's included in this, and then the slides will be shared, or the link to where to find the slides will be shared. There is nothing stopping you from going through this community engagement and then look at your own policies and then probably recommend according to this policy, or even to us. I mean, we will also like to hear in terms of the policies that we have, in terms of the recommendations from outside. It will be so great. So I'm sure you want to know the roles, or the key responsibilities from the role players within the research creation. NW, which is Northwest University. As researchers, we are recommending that they must communicate science by simplifying and sharing their work through diverse formats such as storytelling, public talks, media articles, podcasts, social media, infographics, policy briefs, community engagements to ensure accessibility and broader impact beyond academia. What we've noticed is the fact that the research that is created, or the science that is produced, it's produced with its jargons. So when you create that science, it might not reach the target market. It might reach the target market, or it does reach the target market. But what about those people who doesn't really understand the jargons of your field? What about those people who doesn't really understand the depth of academic talk or academic language? So that is why we're saying that create just after you've done your research, to expand it, create those storytelling. You simplify your research, you tell the story about your research, you produced the science, you've written the article, you've written the thesis, you've written the dissertation. So now go back, create storytelling, create public to involve yourself in the public talks, go to the radios, do those interviews, talk about your research, do those podcasts. Social media is there. I mean, we are all in TikTok. I mean, there are challenges, different challenges in TikTok. So go there, create those challenges about your article. I mean, you've seen in the thing in the music industry, where the people that are writing, or those creatives that are writing songs, they will be creating challenges and all that. Why not with the research? Why not with the infographics? Why can't you involve yourself in those policy brief, community engagement? You hold those sessions and then you talk about your research as a researcher. Then another role player within, it's actually community engagement coordinators. Um, we are advising and we are recommending that you connect academics with communities to ensure inclusive. I mean, we've got a lot of community engagement, community coordinators. The research is not a one-way thing. It should be a two-way in a way of communication. You are receiving the researchers that are coming to your communities and request that they want to do research within your community. After they've done research or they collected that data, ensure as a community coordinator that you are keeping that communication, you are keeping that link between the researcher as well as the community, so that they can come back and actually communicate back those recommendations and those findings. We've got a department that is called Corporate Relations and Marketing. It actually helps us to craft strategic messages, in manage media, and support visibility throughout branding within the organization. That department, it helps us a lot in terms of communicating our research. And then after we've done helping our research, in fact, after we've done supporting our researchers in profiling them, we actually work with this department very closely and partner with them in communicating, or in making sure that we craft those strategic messages, those media reports, so those media marketing. As a library, we guide researchers in profiling, open access, and disseminate. I mean, we are advocating for open access. All these initiatives that we're doing, we are trying to make sure that the science is open, because the more the science is open, the more the chances of collaboration, the more the chances of funding, the more the chances of promotion within the research or within researchers. We also have this mentality, or we also have this thinking of, if you trust your science, Why can't you make it transparent? Because you trust what you're producing and there are no issues within what you're producing or what science with the science that you're producing. So why can't you be transparent with it so that we can stand good chances of collaborating with you? We can stand good chances of reusing that data, as the fair use is saying. Reusing that data, of course, we actually going to we're going to sort of provide that copyright that needs to be provided. Then, as a postgraduate student, we actually advise that. Okay, I think there's someone on the back. I'm not sure if there's a mistake on the mic or a question.
I think they accidentally unmuted themselves. You can continue. Thank you.
Thank you, John. In terms of the student as a role player, we advise and advocate that those our postgraduate students that shall receive training and support to share research through engaging accessibility. We advocate and we recommend our postgraduates in the students that they don't just sit in those labs and then they don't just focus on doing research only. They must engage in accessing those different formats. They must make sure that they attend those trainings and support that we're providing as the university as well as the library specifically. Then that was the framework part one, or that was part one of our framework that we adopted. Part two, in terms of publish and open access, we ensure that we provide support and we provide services in terms of helping our researchers to publish, and as well as when you publish or when you produce the science and then you publish in those different journals, there is something that is called predatory journals, but that's topic of another day. Predatory journals are the journals that my colleague usually says it's fly by night. It's those journals that are compromising research or they compromising the science. So they don't really focus on the academic part of science. Instead, they're focusing on the monetary of the side of science, where they don't worry or they don't involve themselves in terms of peer reviewing, in terms of ensuring that the research is credible. Then how do we make sure or how do we ensure as NW that our researchers, they don't fall into that trap? Then we actually provide, we make sure that almost each and every year we provide the latest list of accredited journals that we get from DHET. And then we've got a platform that is called Journal Citation Reports, where we check the report of that journal, and then we check the citation report of that journal before you can allow, we can advise our researchers to publish in that journal. Also, there's a platform that is called Scimago, which does provide the journal rankings as well as the journal quartile. So also, there is a platform that is called DOAJ that provides or that helps to check if the journal is accredited and it's open access. So all these initiatives and platforms are there, or we provide them to ensure that we are providing support to our researchers that produce science. And we also make sure that in terms of that research, it's not the research that is questionable. Instead, it's a research that is credible that we are producing as NW. And then we have we also provide and advise that our researchers publish research data papers in data journals. I mean, there's a new trend. It's actually a new trend in the library sphere or in the library spectrum of the producing the data papers. So we advise our researchers to produce those data papers, to produce even those data sets, because we've got repositories for data sets or for data. So those processed data sets, we actually advise our researchers to produce those as well as to keep or preserve them within the data repositories. Our data repository is called Buluka. It's actually a fixture platform. The benefits of this, it includes, of course, it's not limited, but it includes access to scholarly work. it actually reached the wider of readers. It provides the potential collaborators, which is this benchmarking collaboration within the national and international. Then also the citation, it actually increase your citation for your work. I mean, no one wants to just produce research or produce science and they're not cited. It actually gives that confidence when you provide, when you receive a citation, it gives that confidence that your research is actually visible and is well known in the world and it's got an impact. And as well as the recognition, you want to be recognized as a researcher. You don't want to just produce research and then there's no recognition. It doesn't really matter if it's a recognition, financial or monetary recognition, or academic or scholarly recognition. So we do want that as researchers. We don't want to just produce science and then there's no recognition. Then we have what we call open access publishing. Those are transformative agreements that we thank Sunlick for negotiating and ensuring that our researchers can publish in open access within those publications or within those publishers with at no cost from the publishers list mentioned above, which is these. It's not limited, but this is a list of the transformative agreements that we have with Sunlick and also with those publishers. But we do advise, or we also advise our researchers to ensure that they utilize those transformative agreements, because it actually removes, or it help our researchers to publish without paying those APCs, article processing charges. They don't pay those within those transformative agreements because Sunlick is already negotiated or is in negotiation with those journals or with those publishers to ensure that our researchers, they benefit in terms of reading from this and also publishing from these and all that. Then within those transformative agreements, this is how in NW, this is the platform at NW that we're using when you're publishing within the transformative agreements. You select the relevant SDG. What is an SDG? SDG is we've got 17 SDGs from UNESCO or UN, which is Sustainable Development Goals that were agreed that the research that is produced within it should be aligning with those 17 UNESCO SDGs. One will mention, I mean, you can always go and read through in terms of those SDGs from 1 to 17. So your research should be aligned within those SDGs in solving the societal problems. So you select the relevant SDG for your article or research topic, and then you find the journal using the publisher journal finder, which is in this link. Then you check the journal aims and scope. That is the very important part. You don't want to publish in a journal that you're not 100% sure of their scope as well as of their aim. Each journal has got their own aims and their own scope. So you want to ensure that you publish with a journal that is aligned with your departmental or your faculty or you sort of you don't want to publish in a journal that is not within your scope or within the scope or aim of of your research. So that is very important. You read through those aims and the scope, and then you search with each journal using article title or keywords from your manuscript. So now it simply means that you need to know your surroundings. You need to read through, or you need to check around in terms of the other publishers within your field, that which journals that are used or are they publishing from, and why are they publishing from those journals, so that you know it very well, that you don't just publish to, if you're a library science, your expertise are within library science, and then you find yourself that you're submitting in the journal of physics, and then they might decline or they might reject your publication or your request to publish because it doesn't fit with the scope and the aims of that particular journal. Then you check the selected journal if it is listed in the transformative agreements, and then which is in the publisher journal list. And then you search journal list using journal title or keywords or synonyms, even the ISSN. Check if the journal is in the latest accredited journal list, because there's other platform that is called what do you call it? That I'll think of it now. I'll actually get back to it. Retraction Watch. Yeah, that platform is called Retraction Watch. it actually gave the list, or it helped us to check which journals that were retracted, as well as you always have to check in terms of the accreditability of the journal. You have to use, you can use the accredited journal list, and then you just check. And as well as you have to check it within the DHET list, so that you don't want to publish, or you don't publish to a journal that was accredited previous year, and then in the next year it's no longer accredited, or it falls into the, what do you call this, into the predatory. So you have to make sure that before you publish, or we advise our researchers, and we assist our researchers to ensure that all those steps are followed. You check the journal impact factor and the quartile. You don't want to publish into a journal that has got no quartile, or it doesn't have any good quartile, which is in this case it's 1 or 2. Of course, 3 or 4, it's still acceptable, but you always want, as a researcher, to publish in the best journals. We're not saying that don't publish in quartile 4 or in quartile 3. Of course, the journals, it goes with how the journal is publishing, as well as in terms of how the journal is doing in terms of those issues and those publications. You check the publisher and proceed to the publisher website. So in this step now, in terms of submit, you actually have to go to the author submission portal on the publisher's side, follow the manuscript submission process, select publication model, which in this case is publish open access, not subscription. Select the right license, and you ensure our NW community, or our NW researchers, we are advising them to ensure that they are affiliated. They highlight the fact that they are affiliated with NW. So by using their email addresses of the institution. Then after that, the system will automatically identify NW authors as a part of the SANLIC agreement, and will automatically allocate a voucher to the article. The manuscript goes through the usual publication process, including peer review. There's a tendency, or there's a talk that says that the open access journals are not as equal as gold, are not as equal as those hybrid and all that. But the question that we're asking is, if the university pays to ensure that you've got access to those journals, why will they be less credible when it comes to the open access, but it's the same journal that it goes for gold and it goes for hybrid? So we are just reiterating and ensuring our researchers that those open access journals, they are credible, equal to those other ones. Of course, with the same publisher. So what could make those others to be diluted now if it's an open access? So you reach and engage your audience by creating communication assets. Once you're done publishing, you make sure that you create those communication assets, which is the infographics, videos, abstracts, and visuals, and then you go after the publication. And then publishing open access. We've got the community engagement policy states that, or it requires that, all research engagement activities should be published in open access accredited journals, which is the NW policy. It says that identify, or it's also extend to say identify and integrate relevant SDGs that aligns with the research activities. And then on the other side, the open access policy states that the NW open access and RDM policies, which it regulates the provision for public access to NW research output, such as dissertations. And this is journal articles, book and book chapters, conference proceedings, research data, and others. That's what our open access and RDM policy says. Then moving on to part 3 of Moray framework. It actually suggests researchers to widen visibility after publishing. We are saying to our researchers, or we are recommending to our researchers, that you don't just publish and then you leave it there. It doesn't end there. we advise and also recommend to our researchers that they make bite-sized assets like infographics as highlighted in the previous slide. And then after you've created those infographics, I'm sure one is interested to know, why are we doing this? By doing this, you widen your research. We know that the current generation doesn't really worry much about reading so much. Instead, they worry much about watching and then about hearing. So you're trying to grasp the attention from all different angles and all different spectrums. So you want to make sure that in the spaces of social media, you've got those video abstracts that you created, that you talk about your research. You have those infographics, you talk about your research and you talk about your findings, and you simplify your research language to ensure that it speaks to the audience that you want it to reach. And then you visualize those abstracts, you make podcasts, you make short videos, storytelling, and republish those. We've got a repository as well that is called Buluka, which is the institutional repositories or institutional repository. All those are actually taken back to the repositories. You just share the links, you share those videos, and then they take you back to the article, because all those, they have the DOI of the article, or you attach the DOI of the article, so that whenever the person is reading the video abstract, or actually is watching your video abstract, then they can go to that DOI that will take them to the full article, or to full access of the article, to read through even in your article. So it actually helps you to get those citations and to get those downloads and the views of your article, which is it increases your metrics and bibliometrics. Share research findings widely using repositories, social media tools like Twitter, which is known as now X, and then Facebook, Instagram, press release, and all those. So we are recommending to our researchers that they must reach the wider spaces. They must go to the target market. I mean, we cannot be in a situation where I can even ask you right now, how many of you that are always checking LinkedIn per day compared to checking TikTok, compared to checking TikTok, and compared to check X, which is known with Twitter, which is known as X now, and YouTube. So you go to the spaces where there are audience, that there are wider audience. So you want to ensure as a researcher that you are reaching the spaces that will be definitely getting you the audience. Then moving on to disseminate assets and to widen the visibility. To enhance research visibility, researchers can use, or we recommend that our researchers use, a combination of tools and systems that increases discoverability, that showcases contribution, that track the impact. So we want to make sure that in terms of the research, and the researchers, they will try all angles. You make sure that all angles, you are trying them to ensure that your research reaches the audience that you want it to reach. It reaches, or it actually be discoverable, and it's showcasing those contributions, and you track the impact. We've got tools. I will be sharing these tools in the next few slides that track the impact of your research, because you do want to ensure that you produce science, and then you want to know who is using that science. I'm sure one will be interested to know, what is the research visibility? LIASA 2018 refers to a research visibility as, well, he actually explains, or she explains it as, are you visible, or as a researcher, are you visible to others? Are you known? Is your research known? So that's visibility. And also the extent to which your research is discoverable and accessible. Is your research discoverable? Is your research accessible? That's the definition that I got from LIASA. And then in terms of where you want to make sure that your research is combined, and your research on your outputs are in one place, and your profiles are in one place, we've got a platform that is called ORCID. Others, they call it ORCID, but I usually call it ORCID. There is no school for pronunciation. You make sure that you add ID in your publications. You make sure that you create that ORCID profile. It's very important to have an ORCID profile. Even when you, as a researcher, for collaboration, for applying for funding, for applying for promotion, you ensure that your ORCID profile is up to date. And then you can add in ORCID ID the research publications, be it unpublished papers, be it working papers, be it presentations and slides, be be it archive and preprints and postprints, research data, courses, and also the work that you as a researcher do. For example, you're supervising you're supervising work, or you're supervising students, then all those the ETDs as well as MDs that you are supervising, or those work that you're supervising, it can be added. And even more, you can add links, you can add websites, you can add co-authors, you can add countries. I will just show more in terms of the best practice of OCAD. Also, you add those DOIs within that particular research, so that you can, within that particular research that you added, so that whoever that is looking for your research, they can be able to access it through the DOIs. Then, in terms of posting visibility, this is an example of the researcher that is visible and is got impact. For example, if you look at number 4, which is in this case, which is here, look at the collaboration or authorship that this researcher has. Look at number 5, the co-authorship and the co-researchers, or the co-researchers that are working with this researcher. So imagine a network where every health science, this is an example of the department within the organization. Imagine a network where every health science researcher, or in this case, where NW researcher maintains an active and engaging online presence. If our researchers can look like this, what can stop the collaboration? What can stop the high chances of funding? What can stop the high chances of promotion? Imagine the impact co-authors joining the profiling effort, influencing their own networks, reaching even emerging researchers and postgraduates. If I'm known and I'm visible, and then I'm co-authoring the paper, or I'm co-authoring my research with Apelele, and Apelele know his own people, then they're co-authoring with other person. Then that other person, maybe Nasipi is co-authoring with other person, or even Sibo is co-authoring. So if we have that that link within our research, or within the field of research, I mean, we can go forward in terms of collaboration and even further other than that. Then what tools, or which tools that we use to make sure that we avoid unethical approaches? We use Sherpa Romeo to adhere to publisher copyright and self-archiving policies, which so that we also ask, or we also get help in understanding which version to share. Is it a preprint, postprint, or publisher? Because we don't want to be sued, or we don't want to be sued by the publishers to share the wrong versions of the publications, as the researcher as well as the library. And then we've got also repositories for preprints, which is listed below, which is Open Science Framework, one of them, Archive, Social Sciences, and etc. Then, in terms of improving visibility and citation, we advise that you create, as a researcher, create search engine friendly publication titles. Include 1 or 2 keywords related to your topic. For example, the example provided on my right-hand side, your name of the study should appear in the title of all publications, and use the same title name consistently. Keywords and phrases in your web content that make it possible for others to find your site and publication via search engines. Optimize abstract. Include in your abstract main keywords include in your abstract main keywords. Make sure that your keywords are repeatable, even if it's 3 to 6 times, maybe. Use keywords throughout the title. Provide links to other sources and other articles. For example, in your example, on the example on my right hand side, we ensure that for visibility, you ensure that within the title you include your keywords, or your keywords are tracked from your title, as well as from your abstract. You don't want the readers to fumble when they're looking for your article. You want to make sure that your publication is actually optimized in terms of searching. It can be triggered with your keywords. These are the tools to enhance research visibility. The first one is Open Researcher and Contributor ID, which is OCID. The type of the tool, it offers a solution to author names and misidentification by providing persistent unique IDs. We've got also Scopus ID or Scopus author identifier. We've got Web of Science, which is research ID and author identifier. We've got also, we recommend also research data repositories. In this case, ours is called Data Arena. We also recommend dimensions. Then moving forward, we've got publisher tools and open tools. We use publisher tools and open tools. We advise and recommend to our researchers that they actually register and open accounts within all those tools, because once you have this, it's easy for anyone to be able to trace your research and anyone to actually be seeing your research and find your research. These academic profiling tools and general online profiling tools, scholarly science, network tools, open publication date and portals. Then also in the websites for departmental, in the departmental website or faculty website, we advise our faculties to include the researchers within their faculties as well as their profiles in information websites. Then we also advise that they should be included in those. Then these are the key steps that we follow when we profiling our researchers. Register or when asking our researchers to be profiled. We ask them to register or log in and access their profile, or we also do that as well. Verify personal and contact information. You update research interest and keywords. You heard when Miss Huash, when he was reading my thingy, my bio, that it is important to have your interest and your keywords within your profile to be updated, so that whoever that wants to collaborate with you, they can easily see so, because they see your field of interest, they see the keywords, they see where you're likely to be collaborating in or writing with. You add or update publications, link external profiles, ensure that you highlight current projects, grants. Don't be shy to mention grants as well as fundings that you've been receiving or you've received in publishing your research. Collaborations, don't be shy to mention those collaborations. It actually helps a lot. And then you upload full text where permitted. You check the Sheparomia or the copyright. Then ensure that profile visibility settings are public within the ORCID. You make sure that your profile is public, is seen by the public. You don't want to do all this work and then you keep your profile private. Regularly review and maintain your profile. Make sure that you always regularly review, because there are mistakes within the publishers, within these platforms as well that are happening. So make sure that you regularly review and maintain your profile. This is an example of one of the professors that is having their profile within our data repositories. Imagine having this item views number 12,909, and then item downloads, or the downloads for this item were 1,427. The citation were 4. So it actually helps in increasing metrics. It helps in increasing bibliometrics of this, the researcher. Then moving on to our departmental researchers, this is what we want to see as what we're driving towards our faculties. We want to see this within the departmental and faculty profiles, where you have your profiles listed there, so that whoever that is looking at you or looking at your research, they can just click and see the profile that you have on ResearchGate, click and see the profile that you have on LinkedIn, click and see the profile that you have in the Google Scholar, click and see the profile that you have on ORCID, and click and see with the profile that you have within institution. So this is what we want to see, to the researchers having their profiles within the department, within those faculty websites as well. So researchers on key profiling platforms. Academic profile tools, I just highlighted that we've got Scopus, Web of Science, and ORCID, Google Scholar, Buluka, which is in this case, it's our institutional report repositories, where we are saying that do include that profile that you have on researcher, which is your author profile, as well as the supervised work if you are a supervisor of you supervised any student. Also, we've got the NW Research Data Repository, as I highlighted earlier, and many more. Then under social networking tools, we advise our researchers to have profiles on Almetric Explorer, ResearchGate, LinkedIn, blog, website, and all that, and many more. So these profiling tools, they help when you're collecting and and consolidating your profile on ORCID, making sure that the profiles that you have, we just make sure that they are in one space, in this case in ORCID. So all those profiles that you have in everywhere that you have, they are consolidated and be added in one space. And then in terms of the researchers on key profiling tools, this is an example that we were having, or this is a project that we're working on currently. We've actually identified that 38 researchers within that project, they have the, what do you call it? They have the profiles, and then as highlighted, you can see the number of these profiles, but you can go through all those and in your own time. This was just a project that we were working on. And then these are the findings, as well as the significant gaps that we identified. So this is just the overview of the project that we were having, or we were working on. And then it's just an explanation in further on those profiles, that who had the profile, who has this profile and who didn't have this one. And then also this is just a project that we're working in. So don't mind my quick sliding or my quick escaping. It's just a matter of you gonna go through it and then see the gaps and then see the benefits of having those profiles. And then moving on to the last part, because I'm worried about time as well, we need to finish by 10. In terms of research evaluation and in terms of the impact, does it really matter? This is the big question that we want to answer, or we're attempting to answer. If this whole process that we're doing, it really matters. It does matter in a way that it actually helps our researchers to form part of the researchers' major contribution within the organization or within NW. It raises author institutional profile. It disseminates knowledge and scientific discoveries. It actually drives citation and collaboration. It brings recognition, generates income for the university. It supports funding applications and career progression. What is it matters, or why it matters for NW? It actually helps in terms of the rankings. It raises NW ranking and metrics through scholarly publication systems and to benefit researchers and publication. Forms part of researchers' major contribution, actually raises author and institutional profile. It brings recognition. What is it for NW researchers? It's great dissemination. It helps with greater dissemination. It drives attention, citation and collaboration. Stronger faculty reputation in global academic rankings, as well as in subject rankings. Generate income for the institution as highlighted. It actually helps also for the rankings. That's this rankings thing. We've got ranking agencies. So this profiling, it helps with the rankings, as well as this data is used to evaluate aspects like teaching and learning. Or how are we doing with teaching and learning? Are we producing, or are we teaching courses that are relevant? In terms of research, are we producing this research that is credible, citation and research impact, the reputation, as well as the international outlook and industry engagement? This also, it carries on from the project that we're working, of the 38 research ideas that we received. We've noticed that those, they actually have 169 output, as well as 548 citation within the 10 researchers. So it actually it was a case of the incomplete profiles. That's the reason why we had this limited number within that particular department. But as I said, this slide is going to be shared. Then you can just go through the project and it will help you to understand it even further. These are the research areas, or the subject areas that we were looking at. So I want to just jump quickly to what we call our, this is the thing, the ORCID profile. This is how your ORCID profile should look like, as well as you want to ensure that you add everything within the profile. But I will just jump straight to the impact. That's the most important part that I want to jump to. What is the research impact? It's a difference that academic researchers makes to the wider world, wider community. We've got a tool that is called Almetric Explorer, and Almetrics. It actually helps, or it's a web-based platform that helps researchers institutions and publishers to track and analyze the online attention and engage, or it does the engagement surrounding scholarly communication or research outputs. And Almetrics measure impact outside the academic world and inform researchers about elements of societal impact. Complementary to bibliometrics, which is citation-based, it provides detailed attention and attention insights for departments, faculties, institutions, staff, and students, and help them to see a richer picture of the reach and influence of researcher. Then it actually helps in quicker accumulate, or it quicker accumulates the metrics and monitor and collect mentions from a variety of sources. It provides evidence of engagement with diverse audience and potential impact. It uses almetric data for grant application, monitor the reach and influence of scholarly content. It actually helps to boost visibility of public funded research, enhance reporting for authors, for example, NRF rating applications, department and faculties, institutions. This tool, it helps to track all the sources that had mentions your name, which is policy, where your research had influence in policy documents, in news mention, blogs, clinics, clinic guidelines, and so forth and so forth. This is how the tool looks like when you get to it. It actually helps to ensure or to mention or to track the mentions about your research. And also these are the tools, these are the sources that this tool, it actually tracks and ensure that within your research, you can see where the mentions or where are the reference citations and also the impact that your research has reached. This was an example of one of the researchers that we used in terms of tracking the impact and the research of this. So it tells you that where your research, it actually shows you which research publication and when was it published, what were tracked the most. This is the top 5 of that particular researcher. Researcher support plan, what we usually do within the 2 minutes that I have, it's actually a list staff assigned. Each researcher is paired with a list staff member for dedicated support in this project when we're assisting our researchers. The support includes one-on-one consultation and assistance, help with enhancing research visibility using template, which is, in this case, we actually have Intembego ORCID Hub, one of the one of the platforms that we have. And also we add profiled researchers on NW Scholar that we created. The researchers, they register via in NW Research Visibility check tool. Then they connect ORCID through the Intembego ORCID Hub. Researchers should add list staff as trusted individuals to manage and update their ORCID profiles. Then we also advise the faculties to assign dedicated personnel, for example, postdocs. And then recommendations that we usually provide to our researchers is to adopt research profiles tools like ORCID and other profiling tools, promote regular ORCID updates and among staff members, engage with the public. Researchers worldwide are embracing a variety of activities and tools to promote their work, connect and engage with others. This is the end of my research. These are the stakeholders or the role players within the department or within the NW department, library department, that I'm working with in this research. Without wasting any further time, I wish to thank you for the attention. And then I'm pretty sure if there are any questions that will be posed, we can always take 1 or 2, and then the rest, I'm sure, will provide the email address so that we can be able to engage even further beyond this platform. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mpigashe. I'm sure everybody who was there at the beginning of the session, they've learned quite a lot when it comes to scholarly communications, research data management, and principles of open access. There's a couple of questions, there's about 3 of them. One is with regard to corporate relation and marketing, CRM, can you kindly give names or details of the department a researcher can share its research finding?
Yes, it is actually within the organization. It's a department within the NW organization. So what I will just do, I'm worried to give it out without consulting them, but I will just consult with them, and then with when someone send me the email, if they agree, then I can just disseminate that, this POPIA Act and what. But I will just
Yes.
consult with them, and then once they agree, I'm more than willing to share those details.
Okay, please, please get in touch with Mr. Mpikashe so that you guys can have that conversation.
I will
Another one
actually,
was it, is it,
when you share
is it
when
possible?
you share the recording, I will provide the email address.
Okay, thank you. Another one is it possible to get a template of the document that the librarians use when you're compiling the researcher profiles for the researchers or academics?
Yes, we can provide that. We will be able
Okay,
to provide that.
thank you. Another one is who can publish? This is always
Anyone,
an interesting one.
anyone can
Yes.
publish. If I can publish a book when I was doing I think it was second year, anyone can publish
Mhm.
academic world in the academic world, but of course you want to lean more with people who are already published to advise even further in terms of publishing, because you want to know those scopes and all those that I mentioned. So I don't think
Yes.
there's any limitation in terms of you need a certain qualification for you to publish.
Another one, how do you ensure that the librarian assigned to the researcher is protected from getting lines blurred where they might end up doing the researcher's work? We do actually encounter this a lot as librarians.
Yes.
They're asking about the fine line of assisting as a librarian, assisting a researcher. Oh.
It starts with the
The fine
framework.
line of
Yes,
assisting a researcher and also actually doing their work.
it starts with the framework. If your framework is created well and it's crafted well, and when you do those presentation, you ensure that you inform the researchers that this is what you need to do as a researcher, and then this is what we do from our end. So it starts with that framework. Our framework is created in a way that we ensure that we inform the researchers, do this, do this, do that, and do that. And then from our end, this is what we do from our end. So it starts with that framework that is created. You craft your framework very well. And then even in those presentations, for example, this presentation that I was delivering. So with these kind of platforms, you ensure that in the spaces of the researchers, you tell them or you inform them about their duties, sort of about their role, and then about your role as a librarian.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mpikasha. And with that said, thank you, colleagues, for joining us. And I'd like to just add on what you were saying. It is important to have a structure or whenever you're assisting anyone so that people do not expect you actually to do their job for them, especially researchers. Yours is to guide, facilitate, listen, assist, not to actually do the work for them. And thank you so much, colleagues, for availing yourself this morning. The meeting now will be adjourned as there's another meeting that Apelele needs to facilitate. Do have a good day, and the slides will be shared in due time by Apelele. Thank you also, Mr. Mpikashe, for joining us on this session. We have learned quite a lot from you this morning, and all the best, colleagues. Goodbye.